All right, what's going on, Giants fans? Bobby Skinner talking Giants, doing the second annual midseason mock draft video where I go through the Giants, do a mock draft simply during the Giants bye week, so you kind of got a good idea of where around you'll be picking. Obviously, I'll use the slots that the Giants currently have, but things will change. And kind of some disclaimers. My player knowledge right now is limited. I got like the top 15 of the draft, like an idea of those guys. Some guys better than others. And then after that, it's kind of scattered around. When I was doing the 6th, 7th round picks, I started watching guys. I'm like, all right, let me, this is a position of need. And usually rounds, day 3, my philosophy has always been just best player available. Don't worry about position. You're trying to find guys who you think could turn into good NFL players. Don't worry about the position. But I think I'm changing on that a little bit to where it's like, you know what, maybe spend a day 3 offensive lineman on a guard every single year or something like that. But again, limited database of players I actually feel comfortable talking about right now. So there's that. The Giants have 9 picks right now in this draft. They have their first, the Bears first round pick, so 1, 6, and 1, 8. They have their second. They have the Dolphins third, which right now is a better pick than theirs. Their third. The Bears fourth. They don't have their fourth. They traded that away to the Ravens for Ben Bredeson, but they got back a 5th round pick that was originally from the Chiefs. And then they have their 5th as well. They have their 6th round pick, and then their 7th round pick. Technically, they still have it because we don't know the details, but it was a conditional pick in the Billy Price BJ Hill trade, and I would assume Billy Price has fulfilled any playing time, requirements, or maybe it's BJ Hill, but I'm assuming they don't have a 7th right now, and they didn't get a 7th for Ryan Santoso because he only was active for 1 game. So let's get into it. I use the Draft Network simulator. So don't hit me with that player won't be there. It's like, hey, I'm using their simulator and I'm trying to keep it as realistic as possible. And I don't do trades and draft mock drafts because do trades happen? Yeah, but not the trade that you want, or these fake trades, the drafts. And you could get a trade for anything in these draft simulators. All right, let's get into it. New York Giants first round pick 6, round 1, owned by the New York Giants. Kayvon Thibodeau's off the board. Aiden Hutchinson is off the board. But a guy who, when I went to go make this video, I wasn't expecting to be there, and I even refreshed it a few times to see if it was accurate. And I am taking Alabama left tackle, offensive tackle Evan Neal, who's 6'7", 355 pounds, and that is need met with player, and that's what the top 10's about. It's like, yes, does need matter for the top 10? Yes, but also you have to be a top 10 player, and that's what Evan Neal is. He's a top 5 player, and his feet, paired with that size, is 6'7", 355 pounds, is what makes him, the top tackle in this class to me. There's other guys, and we'll talk about them that, could make an argument, but for me, Evan Neal is that guy. Because, a lot of guys in the run game, they can move you off the edge, but they rely on first punch or leaning and sacrificing technique. Neal brings the hands and feet without stopping, is able to move guys with, for his frame, a good pad level. He gets his hands in the side, and once he's got his hands on you, you're done. And it's good, calm feet, not getting his base super skinny, not leaning, not relying on a first punch and disengaging. Like, that's what he's good at. And he's got that Alabama coaching too, where he's not getting super sloppy with his footwork. And as a pass blocker, he has a ton of vertical set experience, which a lot of guys in college don't, especially with some of the QBs they play with. So he does that, and he does it well. Like, he's got a ton of one-on-one experience of setting that vertical set without opening his hips. He stays square in those pass sets. With that size, you're not going to get around the corner on a guy like that. He's got good technique paired with size, athleticism, and strength. You're not going to get around him. And you're not going to go through him either. The size, it's not just size. He has the strength to go with it. And once he's got his hands on you, you're done. Like, that rep is over for you. What he could get better at is he needs to be better protecting the inside move. So, needs to be quicker with his feet. But he's got the feet to get better at that stuff, and that's the kind of stuff that players get better at. We saw it with Andrew Thomas, for example. His punch could be a little more violent, but also, and not being that violent stops him from, leaning and allowing guys to attack his back. And then again, once he's got his hands on you, he controls them. So he'll never be a victim of the borscht. And he hasn't played the same position 2 years in a row. He played left guard his freshman year, right tackle sophomore, and now he's playing left tackle. Now with the Giants, I would like to see him move over to right tackle with Andrew Thomas. But again, you have Andrew Thomas, Evan Neal as your tackles. we're feeling good. We are feeling good. You know, they're obviously I'm not in the QB market for the Giants this year. So this one, you know, we talk about you know, I'm going to talk about guys that like could have been the pick. There wasn't really much competition. This was a no-brainer for me. This one I had to think about. Pick one. You know, the next pick I had to think a lot about. This one I didn't. So Evan Neal, he's the Giants' first-round pick. Alabama connection too with Nick Saban. Round 1, pick 8 from the Bears. Feels good to have 2 first-round picks. So I kind of went into this expecting to pick another offensive lineman. I was like, I'm going offensive line. I'm fixing this offensive line once and for all. But this is it seems to be a deeper offensive line class. So I watched Kenyon Neal in the summer. Fell in love with him. I think he's going to be an awesome guard in the NFL. So, you know, I rewatched Kenyon Green a little bit. I wish they'd play him at guard instead of tackle. But, I mean, he looked really good against Adam Anderson from Alabama at tackle. And that guy's supposed to be the first-round pick in the next draft, 2023. Did well versus him. So, like, okay, but let me watch, you know, the NC State tackle, Ikem Ekwonu. I think I pronounced that right. I'm like, man, he mauls dudes. Like, he gets, you know, he pushes guys off the ball. Like, he's nasty in the run game. Has, like, a little bit of Mekhi Becton to his game. And he's only getting better. But I have 2 tackles in Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal. So I'm like, can I swing him inside? Like, could I do that? Because I think I might rather have him than Kenyon Green. But I don't know. It was so close. And then I was like, okay, let me watch the next edge guy on the board. And that's George Karlaftis. And that made my decision for me. I'm going George Karlaftis out of Purdue, edge, 6'4", 275 pounds. And as soon as you watch him, as soon as you turn on the tape for him, you see a blend of size, speed, and strength that screams to you, top 10 player. And again, we are meeting a huge need for the New York Giants. They need that top dog in the edge room. I feel like they got their future 2 in Azeez Ojulari. You know, you can make an argument that they have their future 3 in Quincy Roche, but I don't think they have that top dog. And George Karlaftis would be that. The 2 previous drafts, he would be the best edge in either one of those classes not named Chase Young. And I think he's closer to Chase Young than he is the Kwity Paye, K'Lavon Chase, and Jalen Phillips types. Like I said, size, speed, and power with good like football IQ. You know, get off from the line of scrimmage paired with his pad level, and it just screws with offensive tackles' heads. He comes out low, he comes out fast, and he comes out powerful. Like, you got to bring your A game every single rep when you're playing a guy like that, and especially because his motor never stops. And he gets double teamed a lot, but he fights through those double teams. You know, so it's a lot of guys you see they'll get double teams, and you can see they're not giving their full effort. They kind of give up with that rep. Not George Karlaftis, man. He's fighting through everything, and his hands are constantly active. And you can tell he's not thinking through it, you know, and not thinking in a good way, where he's not like overthinking it, like, okay, you know, this is what he did last rep, I'm going to come back. It's like, no, he's seeing what the offensive tackle does and reacts to it, whether it's beating him inside, whether it's going to a spin, whether it's trying to bend the edge. Even though I don't think he has that Kayvon Thibodeau, like, I could just bend the edge on pure speed. You know, he's got like that get off that Thibodeau has, but I don't think he has that pure speed to get around the corner like he had, like a guy like K'Lavon Chase had out of LSU a couple years ago. So that would be like the thing that I think keeps him away from that top 5 range, even though I would be fine taking him in the top 5 too. But, you know, it's a good edge class. So like, and obviously all that translates well into the run game as well. And again, he gets doubled like crazy, consistently fights through them. Like, he's a baller. Like, I'm excited about this pick. I'm in love with George Karlaftis. I hope the Giants end up leaving this draft with one of these edges, whether it's Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, or George Karlaftis. Where going into this, my mindset was like Hutchinson, Thibodeau will probably be gone. I was really in like the O-line thoughts, but I want one of these edges. I want one of these 3 edges I want to come away with. So if that means the Giants are picking the top 5 and they have their chance at you know, Thibodeau or Hutchinson, and then getting a tackle later and maybe not getting your Evan Neal, then you would change it. But I go for Evan Neal, George Karlaftis. I even peeked at Chris Olave, but it's like, you know what, we're good at wide receiver. So that is round 1 done for the New York Giants. You go to bed Thursday night with 2 key foundational pieces for the franchise. All right, so now it's day 2. We just got done celebrating, you know, our two new toys in Evan Neal and George Karlaftis. But now it's day 2. We got to get ready. We got 3 more picks. We got 3 day 2 picks. Thank you to a trade down to get Azeez Ojulari with the Dolphins. But it starts off with our own second round pick. And this is where it's time to build that offensive line. Let's fix this New York Giants offensive line once and for all. You got a piece in Andrew Thomas you believe in. You got Evan Neal. We don't know what Nick Gates is going to be back, but I feel good about bringing him back. Well, let's add to that interior. And we're going to go with Kentucky offensive lineman Darian Kinnard, 6'5", 345 pounds, and round 2, pick 41. And he's played right tackle at Kentucky, but I am moving him inside without a thought. He is playing guard for me. And I'm going to put him next to right guard Evan Neal. And I'm going to let Andrew Thomas play with a bad left guard or whoever, Shane Lemieux gets better. But I'm putting him at right guard next to Evan Neal. Like, without a thought, this guy he's moving to an NFL guard. And honestly, he's a first-round talent. He is like he is a first-round talent. When you watch him play, like, this guy could go in the first round. He could be a first-round player. But he's there in the second because his feet and his hands, it needs work big time. Like, he needs technical work big time. He takes a lot of false steps in the run games. And his hands will come wide, and he'll, miss guys, and then it's like, okay, now we're stuck at the line of scrimmage, and we're not getting movement in the run game. But if he puts the work in, that stuff is 100% going to get better. That's the stuff that does get better with good coaching. He has quick feet, a lot of power in his hands, and with mixed with good athleticism. Again, he has like a first-round profile as a player, playing at Kentucky. And if you could guarantee me he's going to work his ass off, I would pick him in the first round. Not top 10, not top 15, but I would pick him in the first round if you can guarantee that he's going to work like that. Because he just moves guys effortlessly in the run game. And again, that's like, he needs things to work on, but he still moves guys effortlessly and protects the edge with athleticism and strength. Now, he needs to be more consistent with his hands, but his feet need the most work. But it's not because he's not athletic or he has slow feet. It's just he's got to get better with his footwork. He's got to, not take false steps, not give up ground, and then bring the hands with it. But I think those are things he can get better at with good coaching. I think we got a good O-line coach in Rob Sale, who I'm expecting to be here. And he's never going to get bull rush in the pass game. And the top, edge speed that would give him troubles, he's not going to deal with that because I'm not putting him at tackle. Like, I am not thinking about drafting him at tackle at all. If our tackles go down, maybe we could slide him out there because, he'd be better than, what we have right now outside of Andrew Thomas. But at the end of the day, he is playing guard next to me, and I'm running behind Evan Neal and Darian Kinnard. Like, I'm feeling really good about those because those guys can move guys just yards and yards back, and he's got good athleticism getting to the second level. So I really like Darian Kinnard. Was excited that he was here. This pick, it was between him and the Georgia linebacker Nakobe Dean. I really like him. He's just like a do-it-all linebacker and an excellent blitzer. I probably would have him after Devin Lloyd, who was already off the board. But it's just, one, it's need, and I really like Darian Kinnard. I think he's a first-round talent. So I went Darian Kinnard. Like, I got to believe in building this offensive line. Now we hit round 3. Some casual fans are kind of checking out. They're not really watching this part. We have round 3, pick 69, nice, from the Dolphins. Again, from the Azeez Ojulari trade last year. And like Azeez Ojulari, this guy played edge for Georgia, but he transferred to Florida State. Jermaine Johnson, 6'5", 260 pounds. Again, transfer from Georgia when he had like pretty good film at Georgia. But at Florida State, he has taken over at that spot. He has 10.5 sacks, 15.5 tackles for a loss in 10 games so far. He's 4th in the nation in sacks, 5th in tackles for a loss. He's only like a half, he's like 1 tackle for a loss off the lead, half of a sack off the lead for the lead in college football. And it's stuff that's going to translate to the NFL. Like, his frame, like, he is just big. Like, he looks taller than offensive linemen out there. Like, his frame is looming, and he plays with it. Like, he's a straight beast in the run game. With his strength, like, he has quick hands, and that shows up in the pass game. We'll talk about. He has quick hands that jack guys up in the offensive line, their tackles, jacks them up, gets them off balance to where not only is he setting an edge really well, which he doesn't give up that edge, but now he's able to not just set the edge, but make those big stops, and that's how he has 15.5 tackles for a loss. Because, again, some guys are really good at setting the edge, some guys are really good at disengaging. Jermaine Johnson is both, and I'm getting him in round 3. And in the pass game, he doesn't have like amazing get-off speed, but he makes up with it with good handwork, like I said, and his strength, get him into sacks and a bunch of QB hits. And again, I don't think he's going to just burn guys off of the edge, and that's why we're picking him in round 3, which I do think he ends up probably moving up into the second round eventually. But like, watch him versus Akeem Okonu of NC State, who I talked about picking the first round. Like, he gave up no ground in the edge to him. won multiple reps in the pass game, and it wasn't like lining up against him every single rep. Like that was the game. It's like, okay, I'm really down. I'm really down for this guy in round 3. And hell, I might even consider him in round 2 if I would have went O-line. So getting him in round 3 is really good. And again, he's putting up a ton of production. He killed my Hurricanes, 3 sacks on Saturday, but the Hurricanes sucked. Fire Blake James. It happened. Thank you. Now fire Manny Diaz. So I won't do the who I was picking between, because we have a pick 3 picks later. So now we got round 3, pick 72. This pick is owned by the New York Giants. This is their pick. And I'm taking the pick that I'm not so slam dunkish on that I was the other ones. I'm taking Texas linebacker DEMARVION OVERSHOWN, 6'4", 215 pounds. Moved to stack linebacker from safety in 2020, so he's a raw player, and it does show up. But he's got speed. And not only does he have speed, there's a lot of linebackers who have good speed, but a lot of linebackers have good speed and they have bad instincts, and they're not aggressive. Not DEMARVION. He is fast, instinctual, and he likes to hit. And again, you're pairing that with a guy like Blake Martinez. If I didn't have a guy like Blake Martinez, maybe I don't make this pick. But next to Blake Martinez, like, this guy's going to make players for the New York Giants. That's where I would worry about him, making him that number 1 guy. But next to Blake Martinez is good. He plays fast, blows plays up. What worries me about him, though, is that sometimes he comes in so hot and he tackles low. Like, he tackles low and he can miss tackles. He can miss, there was tackles for a loss he could have had in games I watched. There's sacks he could have had in games he watched, and he wasn't able to wrap them up. So that's what worries me. And again, his frame, his strength, he's new to the position. I worry that he's going to be able to disengage NFL offensive linemen, like, consistently. Like, he's got the speed. If he has a plan and works his hands, but once, like, an offensive line's into his body, it's over at that point. I mean, even a tight end into his body, it can be over at that point. So that's the thing that worries me. But again, I haven't even mentioned really maybe the best thing about him is his coverage ability. Again, speed, all that stuff translates to coverage, obviously, with that 6'4" height. But, like, he sees things coming together, and again, that might be some of the safety experience. But, like, he understands coverages. He sees stuff. He covers a man and not just grass. And again, you see linebackers all the time who have great athleticism, but they have horrible instincts in coverage. Not OVERSHOWN for Texas. And that's huge. He ruins progressions for quarterbacks. And what happens when you ruin progressions for quarterbacks? You get sacks. You get sacks that you don't need to win in 2.5 seconds. The sacks that you win in 3.5, 4 sacks. Those Dexter Lawrence type sacks. That's what DEMARVION OVERSHOWN could do for you. He ruins the progressions. And again, especially in the red zone. But again, he is skinny, and he could put some weight on. But I like this guy. He's a fun watch. I was choosing between him and Ohio State tight end Jeremy Ruckert, but it's like, I wasn't in love with Ruckert to pick him in round 3. So that's day 2. We just finished day 2. We got Evan Neal. We got our edge in George Karlaftis. We bolstering the O-line with Darian Kinnard, adding another edge in Jermaine Johnson because he was just too good to pass up, even though you got a guy like Aziz. And then we got someone to play next to Blake Martinez and DEMARVION OVERSHOWN. All right, now it's time for day 3, which I think is kind of the most exciting. Like, obviously, round 1, that's where your team's in, but I love day 3. But, guys, before you get into day 3, you guys are football fans. Who's ready for some free bets? I know you guys want to bet on the draft far away, but let's bet on the games before we get there. Now you can when you bet on any NFL game this week with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers who bet just $1 on either team to score can win $100 in free bets. When a team scores, you score. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars and total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOHNBOY. Like, John Boy, use that. Bet $1 on either team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code JOHNBOY this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Get in the call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, it's day 3 of the NFL draft. The casuals are definitely gone. And this is where I have the most fun, though, because I love learning about these players, finding these gems that you can turn into, solid NFL players and sometimes even stars. And we're going to start with round 4, pick 11. We don't have our own 4th round pick that was traded to Baltimore, which we'll make that pick later. But we have one from the Chicago Bears. So we're round 4, pick 111 of the total draft from Chicago, and I am going Baylor safety Jalen Pitre, 6 foot, 195 pounds, and this guy plays like a freaking wrecking ball, a cannonball, and he plays from that money backer, star backer position where he can play that box linebacker, but also plays at nickel cornerback a decent amount of the time. And the Giants, like, this might be a need too. I know we don't really, you're not drafting in round 3 for need, but this might be a need because Jabril Peppers is probably gone. I'm working under the assumption that Jabril Peppers has played his last game as a New York Giant. But even if Peppers is still here, I'm taking Pitre because it's round 4, and I really like this guy. And again, he plays like a wrecking ball. 10th in the nation for tackles for a loss with 14. Again, from playing a defensive back spot, has 2 sacks, 2 interceptions. Essentially did the same thing in 2020, but in 9 games instead of 10 this year. But both his interceptions were pick 6 last year. Obviously, he's that box safety, but I still think he could cover tight ends. Obviously not day one, and most safeties have a hard time covering tight ends. I don't think we really watch that a ton when we're not watching our own team. But again, I'm getting Jalen Pitre. Credit to Jake Barrel, do a barrel roll, who has, he clips everything on YouTube for people. He put me on to him because he knows I like Pepper. So credit to him. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel, even to his Patreon. He does all that stuff for free. Now we're in round 5. It's our own 5th round pick 148, and I'm taking Colorado State tight end. I've been neglecting tight end. I've been almost going tight end the last few picks. Colorado State tight end Trey McBride, 6'4", 260 pounds. He's your old school type of tight end. He's all around. He's not just like, hey, this is a blocking tight end, or this guy's a receiver but he can't block. He's an all around guy, but he's put up a ton of production for Colorado State. In the last 2 seasons, he's averaged 7 catches and 90 yards per game. Again, from the tight end spot and not being like a freakish athlete. So he's never going to be a superstar tight end in the league, but I think he's going to be a solid tight end. And the Giants might lose their top 2 guys. Evan Ingram's on an expiring deal. Kyle Rudolph, if I'm a new GM, that's the first contract I'm cutting and getting rid of is Kyle Rudolph. So you got Caden Smith there, who's, again, on the last year of his contract. But tight end may be a need for the Giants going into this offseason, but not a need that you're going to want to spend a big free agent contract or top of the draft. So I think Trey McBride is someone who could come in and maybe, fill in day 1 with him and Caden Smith. Good inline blocker, especially at the second level. He played that H-back, lead fullback role at Colorado State a little bit, but I don't think he's ever going to excel at that in the NFL. Decent speed once he gets going. Not great get-off, but once he gets going, he can work the seams, work digs, corner outs. But his get-off is just kind of like, eh. Again, he's not some speed steaming. So, but once he catches the ball, too, and you see all those yards, he's hard to bring down. He's stumbling, bumbling, Chris Berman style. And he's just a hard guy to bring down. The other guy I was thinking about here, I thought about it because he was still available, was Clemson wide receiver Justin Ross. But it's just like, you know what? I know it's round 5, but I'm not taking the guy with the injuries. All right, so now we have our second 5th round pick 165. This was from the Ravens through the Ben Bredesen trade, where we received Ben Bredesen in their 5th round pick, and we gave them our 4th. So, but it's through the Chiefs in the Ronnie was it Ronnie Staley? The Orlando Brown trade. I always get those 2 guys mixed up. So picks 165 the 5th round or 2nd round. I'm going Chiefs. I've got Missouri on the mind because it's Mizzou running back Tyler Badie. He's stepped into the feature back role for Mizzou this season. Good speed, change of pace back. He's going to add in the receiving game, but he's 5'8", 194. So I don't think he'll ever be a feature back in the NFL. But again, adds a lot in the receiving game. His first year being the feature guy for Mizzou, he has 1,200 rushing yards with 5 catches a game in 10 games. I kind of maybe regret this one because there's a back that I might like more out of FIU, Devontae Price, who's big. He's a blocker. If I need a starting running back, it might have been Devontae Price. But a team that, has Saquon Barkley, it's like I kind of need my number 3 running back to be someone who could come in and add value with limited reps. I don't know if Devontae Price would be that. And they just, if Devontae Price was even just used somewhat in the receiving game, I would have done that. But FIU, who doesn't have the best talent in the world, just doesn't use him in the receiving game at all. But I really like watching Devontae Price. So, maybe the Giants can add a 7th, and I'll get Devontae Price, during the offseason. So I got my RB3. And my last pick of the Giants draft, round 6, pick 188. Fire Manny Diaz. Miami Hurricanes wide receiver Charleston Rambo. Transferred from Oklahoma. And at Oklahoma, it wasn't like he was a nobody. He had 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns over the 3 years he was there. So again, he wasn't a nobody. But with Miami, he's been a baller. He has 64 catches, 954 yards in 10 games, which is 6.5 catches and 95 yards per game with 5 touchdowns. Like, he's on pace to break the Miami single season receiving record. I don't know if he's going to do it, but he's on pace for it. And he's got really good speed with a good release package at the line of scrimmage. Now, he's not going to win contested catches. And he's had drop issues, more so at Oklahoma than Miami, but you have seen them here and there in Miami. I just don't think he's ever going to win a ton versus man in the NFL on the outside, because you're not going to be burning guys left and right in the NFL. So I see him probably moving more to a slot role in the NFL. But I really like Rambo. He's been like one of the bright spots of watching Miami this season. So it's all about the U, even though it's not right now. Miami needs They fired Blake. Anyways, I'm not here to give you a Miami rant. So to recap, round 1 went Evan Neal, George Karlaftis, offensive tackle edge. Round 2, Darian Kinnard, guard tackle offensive lineman out of Kentucky. Round 3 went Jermaine Johnson, edge out of FSU, and linebacker DEMARVION OVERSHOWN. Round 4, Jalen Pitre, safety out of Baylor. Round 5, Trey McBride, tight end out of Colorado State, and the other 5th round pick was the running back Tyler Badie out of Mizzou, and then finishing off round 6 with Charleston Rambo. Like, subscribe. I know we're not into draft season, but when we are in draft season, when we start cranking out breakdowns and stuff, so check it out. Appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. Let me know what you think in the comments. Some guys that you might think have been steals or sleepers. But you're not going to change my opinion on the first round, really. But you can maybe change my opinion on day 2, day 3.